There's no doubt that Los Angeles has a terrible shortage of affordable housing. I've said in other videos that that issue is too large to tackle properly in a short YouTube video. But I do think if you're considering retiring in or just visiting Los Angeles, a quick breakdown of Skid Row is in order. You may have only heard of it or seen footage of the neighborhood without anyone telling you more about its scope, scale, or imprint on the city. So here's a short breakdown with a detailed map tour to follow. For starters, while LA's housing shortage has spread to other parts of town, resulting in small tent cities in places other than Skid Row still has the largest concentration of unhoused individuals living outdoors under makeshift shelter. Did you know, though, that as obviously devastating as it is for so much destitution to exist in a basically wealthy city, Skid Row is confined to 0.4 of a square mile? It covers less than half a square mile and includes a cross-section of 50 blocks, which in comparison to the rest of Los Angeles is a relatively small geographic area, even if that is still a devastating amount of space for unhoused people to be living in. It reflects that there are far too many unhoused people in Los Angeles. But it is, I think, smaller than what I think people expect. That doesn't make it any better, but it hopefully helps clarify just one of the many reasons it has such stupefying staying power. Bear with me and you'll see what I mean. It's been there as Skid Row, and not just as a neighborhood, but as Skid Row, since the 1930s. You heard that right. Skid Row was founded, if you will, in the 1930s. It's been presided over by 11 mayors and counting. How'd that happen? Well, it was the first place that unhoused individuals sort of convened, moving in and out of area hotels as seasonal transient workers who had no permanent address. And that community never stopped using that space, whether indoors or outdoors, to bed down in. If a hotel room wasn't available for the night, people just slept outside, and that became the main space in town where they did that. Already in the 1930s, there were 10,000 people for whom the Skid Row area was a kind of home base. By the 1970s, there was an oddly agreed upon containment zone that included shelters, missions, food pantries, and other services in the area, designed not merely to help and provide immediate relief, but in a roundabout way, keep the unhoused from moving too far away from the area from that original 0.4 of a square mile. That's why I say Skid Row was literally founded in the 1930s, and it didn't merely pop up by happenstance. It has a strange infrastructure designed to fit the needs of an unhoused community that began way back when to keep the community in one place. I could go on and on about years-long practices by both very well-meaning and less well-meaning individuals and groups that supported the hyper-concentration of homelessness in one area, and Skid Row's existence is definitely a blight on Los Angeles, despite the charitable folks and organizations it has revealed. But all of that is a whole documentary that deserves more and better treatment than I can give it here. And my goal is to simply describe and define Skid Row for folks who aren't familiar with LA and don't know how Skid Row factors into the city at large and wonder how it persists. Let's check this out. So this is a map of downtown Los Angeles, and as you can see, there's Skid Row smack dab in the middle of downtown. Downtown is bordered by the 101 freeway and the LA River in the east, and the 110 freeway on the west, and the 10 freeway to the south, but there's Skid Row smack dab in the middle of downtown Los Angeles. If I zoom out here and move a little bit west, you'll see that that is where the rest of Los Angeles is, and where many Angelinos live. So there's Skid Row, and to the north is Pasadena and Glendale. You see Griffith Observatory, the Los Angeles Museum, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, Venice Beach, Marina del Rey, and South Los Angeles, Huntington Park, East Los Angeles. This is where another huge portion of Los Angeles is. Montebello, Monterey Park, Alhambra, and again, Pasadena and Glendale. So this entire whole large area, and as we head north to Studio City, North Hollywood, Van Nuys is where the valley is. There's the Hollywood sign. You can see how far away all of this is from Skid Row. And if we move farther west and see the PCH, or the Pacific Coast Highway, or the 1, all three names work, you'll see that we are on the beach. There's the Pacific Palisades, Malibu, and if we travel on the 1, we will continue through Malibu and up, eventually up through more of California. So heading back to the center here, you can see that 4/10 of a square mile that is Skid Row is a smaller dot on the map than I think people think. And bordering it, the reason it stays so contained is this Main Street border here that you see me highlighting to the west and on the left there. Skid Row does not extend beyond Main Street. And the reason for that is all of what's to the west, all of what surrounds it. That there is the Ronald Reagan State Building. That's a state building full of state agencies. And if we travel just a little farther north and slightly east, we see our City Hall, our famed City Hall. It's been in a lot of movies. And across the street from there is the huge criminal courts building at 210 West Temple. And kitty corner across the street from there is the United States Courthouse that shares a courthouse with the Los Angeles Superior Court. And that's a real picture of the courthouse. Look at that pristine lawn. That's what it really looks like. And it's across the street from the Hall of Justice and the Sheriff's Department and the Hall of Records. And that big green strip that you're seeing there is Grand Park. And next to Grand Park is the Civil Court. And this entrance that you see me highlighting here, if you've watched a lot of Perry Mason and you see him walk into Los Angeles Superior Court, he's walking in that front door there, and it's still the same door. It's still there all these years later. And just across the street from the west entrance of the park is our music center, which has the Amundsen Theater, the LA Opera House, and the Walt Disney Concert Hall. So for folks who have tickets to events at the Music Center, they're actually not that far from Skid Row. And so Main Street functions as a solid buffer zone. You have Grand Central Market is here where I'm highlighting. And that's a huge hotspot for international travelers. It's across the street from the Bradbury Building, which is in a lot of classic films. And you can see that, again, it's not very far from Skid Row, so Main Street has to do its job and act as a western border to Skid Row. So Skid Row really doesn't go beyond Main Street. In the east, Alameda Street forms the eastern border. To the east, you have the Architecture Institute, the Los Angeles River, which was made famous in the film Grease, and it's been in too many movies to name. But there's the LA River, and this whole section of space to the east of Alameda Street is the Arts District. And Alameda Street forms a pretty firm barrier between Skid Row and the Arts District, while in the south, the Fashion District is separated from Skid Row by 7th Street. And Olympic Boulevard, which is a main boulevard, and the Grammy Museum, the Crypto.com Arena, the Los Angeles Convention Center, a huge hospital. These are all hotspots for Angelenos. If you have tickets to something in this area, you're not expecting to encounter Skid Row activity. So 7th Street is the border that separates Skid Row from the Fashion District area of the city. In fact, the businesses that surround Skid Row could easily be situated anywhere else in the city. They really don't even seem as though they are the neighbors of Skid Row. And then to the north, you have Little Tokyo, and look, it's right next to that park that I highlighted earlier and all of those government buildings we talked about near Main Street. And so Little Tokyo, which is also near the 101 freeway, uses 3rd Street as a border between itself and Skid Row. Homelessness has definitely spread as other homeless encampments have cropped up all over the city of Los Angeles, and some have been large enough in scale that they have required an investment of several $millions by the city to clear out the camps and clean up the area that is left behind. So Los Angeles definitely has a large-scale homelessness problem that's beginning to spread around the city. But in terms of the scope and scale and the very purposeful infrastructure that is embedded in Skid Row, there's nothing like it anywhere else in the city. Random camps cropping up don't have the infrastructure, the services, the assistance that Skid Row purports to provide. They're much more happenstance than the 0.4 of a square mile that is Skid Row. By and large, as you zoom out and look at the entire rest of the city, Pasadena, Glendale, Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, the Hollywood sign, Pacific Palisades, Huntington Park, Montebello, Alhambra, etc., Skid Row is just that tiny portion of Los Angeles, and that is why it has sadly been allowed to endure. It's been so well contained that it is literally off the map and off of most Angelenos' radars. We can't really see it buried there in the middle of downtown Los Angeles. We don't drive by it every day, so we're not doing much to resolve it. Bottom line, one reason Skid Row has weirdly survived is that for a whole bunch of reasons, it doesn't really encroach on the rest of LA. And sadly, there is a bit of out of sight, out of mind happening there.